Memories of Flannery O'Connor Oral History Project. I am the interviewer, Cody Shelley, Foundation Manager at the Flannery O'Connor Home. We are interviewing Mary Lawrence Kennickell and Kelly Kidd here at the Flannery O'Connor Childhood Home in Savannah, Georgia on December 15th, 2018. Mary Lawrence, if you would state your full name, the date, and where you were born.
Mary Lawrence Nelligan Kennickell, and I was born August 16th, 1957 at the Baldwin County Hospital, Milledgeville, Georgia.
And Kelly?
I'm Kelly Kidd, and I was born July 10th, 1942 at the Richard Benyon Clinic across the street from the old State Capitol building in Milledgeville, Georgia.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much. So we're here to talk about your memories of Flannery O'Connor, and we're going to do that together. But I just want to start separately with just sort of the basic overview of your relationship to Flannery, how you got to know her, when that was, and the context. Mary Lawrence, would you begin?
Mary Flannery was in my earliest memory. She was in Milledgeville with Regina at the time that I was born. So she and Regina, part of my early childhood. And my father was the dentist to the family. My mother was in her book club and close friends of Regina and Flannery. We both had farms, so we had much in common, and we were also members of the small mission church, Sacred Heart Catholic Church, which I believe in the 50s and 60s, its membership, the parishioner count would have been around 363, and it may be 367 today. I mean, it has turnover, but really hasn't grown much, which says a lot for that part of the Bible Belt.
It does. It definitely
in the Catholic population. Mm-hmm.
So you remember seeing the O'Connor women at
regularly,
church?
Most certainly at Mass.
At Mass.
Yes. And then on Sunday afternoons, we had a routine where Flannery and Regina would go to the Stetson Sanford house for lunch. Following, they would come to the Nelligan farm. Now, you had to drive leaving town. At that time, Andalusia was about 4 miles outside the city limits. We were 16 miles. So we were quite the destination for your Sunday afternoon drives. On occasion, we got to come back. We'd eat, have an afternoon nap so that we little Nelligan children would behave, and then go to Andalusia to visit Regina and Flannery. And we always called her Mary Flannery. Regina always called her Mary Flannery.
Was it common in Milledgeville for other folks to call her Mary Flannery as well?
Everyone I knew her as Mary Flannery, but I don't know about outside our little circle of friends. Mm-hmm. Kelly would probably know better.
No, I didn't know Flannery O'Connor until I met her a number of times while on a strange mission of walking past the house of the girl I was madly in love with. I was in high school, and Flannery would sometimes sit on the front porch. I remember her once sitting on the steps of the John B. Gordon home, which was immediately adjoining the property of the governor's mansion. The girlfriend lived directly across the street from the governor's mansion, and she was a relative of Flannery O'Connor's, a cousin. Her name was Martha Marion Garner, and I had put myself in bad graces with Martha Marion by breaking a date with her for a hayride. I got cold feet. Didn't square that up again for 50 years. But didn't know when I ran into Flannery that I was running into anybody important. She was just a woman who was sitting on the porch, and she said something to me one day, and we struck up a conversation, had several conversations. I still didn't know. What I heard about it was from my family, which is extremely Protestant. I lived directly across the street from, well, across a major street, but across the street from the Catholic Church. Never went in there one time in my whole life. I'm 76 now. I've never been in there. It was that strange. I mean, Catholic was Catholic, and Protestant was very different. And my father was a Methodist, and my mother was a Baptist. And at some point in high school, I became Presbyterian, pursuing some problems, partly with Martha Marion. She went to the Episcopal Church, and I was going to get even with her for not coming to the Methodist Church. I didn't know she went to the Episcopal Church. So I joined the Presbyterian Church to get even with her. Also because I admired McLeod, who was the pastor. Now McLeod has as I was telling you earlier, had apparently a close relationship with Flannery O'Connor, which I didn't know about until last year when I read about it in the New York Times. He has a memoir of that, or somebody has a memoir of that relationship. But she apparently knew about me either through McLeod or through my childhood sweetheart or somewhere. And so she knew who I was, but I really didn't know, nor at that point care who she was. She was just a very wise, smart alecky sometimes, woman who sat on that porch sometimes, and I would have a conversation with her. The only one I can remember distinctly was, she said, why don't you just walk up to the door and bang on it, and if she doesn't come to the door, you know, Martha Marion, I like you very much, and I want you to come to the door and see what happens. I never took that advice. But then later I had several adventures you'll hear about later with Flannery when I did know who she was. But my early impressions of her was that she was an outrageously different kind of writer. I still believe she's an outrageously different kind of writer. So that's me.
You know, it's interesting to hear Kelly talk about Flannery giving advice. Go bang on the door and see if, you know, after you express your sentiments, if Martha Marion would come. And I am well aware of Martha Marion, but around our house, see, when you're out in the country, you're insulated and protected from any eavesdropping, you know, and all that. And so there were lots of intimate conversations and laughter and carrying on about, you know, Flannery would often describe something, or Regina would bring up something where Flannery was too direct, and then she would laugh and say, can you believe they took my advice? Oh my gosh, I hope no one takes my advice, you know, and it was always shooting straight from the hip, or interrupting the dialogue that was getting a little too pristine. Not that her language skill was wonderful and never disrespectful in that you didn't hear slang and cursing, but I mean she would interrupt and bring some wit, and even children could recognize, you know, that, oh, that was clever, you know, that was. We're going to be like Flannery, you know. Not that any of us turned out that way. But and at the same time, too, she and Regina influencing us in our childhood. There were things such as, I learned this from Flannery and Regina. Say you have postnasal drip, and you always tuck your handkerchief, you know, in your sleeve, and then it's available anytime. But and if there's lace or something on it, it could have a little bit sticking out, like a pretty little thing. And they had tremendous influence on us in that they were frugal. I have tried to be frugal. I, like characters in the stories, I seem to refuse that grace. You know, my happy medium is thrifty. And then in the economy I create in my own household is sometimes penny wise and pound foolish. You know, I mean, so I'm just, but in their words and everything, I think Flannery And Regina too. Regina was more gentle and very much the lady, but very direct, and frugal in words, in their time. If they told us when they were going to arrive, they were punctual. If you wanted to visit, it was always, 11 minutes before 4 will be fine. 13 minutes before 4. It was never like on the quarter hour, half hour like others. It was, and you better be there, not at 12 before, it's knocking at 11:04, And so, yeah.
Some people would consider that a little peculiar.
No, they very much, and it may not have been a Protestant thing, but we as Catholic Christians really recognize, we bless the hour, we recognize the value of the gift of every minute, to spend your time wisely. Again, Flannery was wonderful in observing that most people fall short of recognizing that gift. But Regina knew when they would rest, when they would awaken, when they would be able to be freshened and ready to receive company. And why waste 5 minutes? Why waste 11 minutes and come at 4? No, let's begin at 11:04. We'll be ready for you. And then, even when we would go visit, they always had sherry. I would get Coke or tea, or we'd go to Mary Virginia and Gussie Harrison's house, and we would all sit, and we learned how to sit properly and have our tea or Coca-Cola. And Regina, speaking of frugality, okay, you all have these shot glasses, so unrelated to Flannery and Regina. However, Regina regularly, people at Christmas would give these little jam jars, and they were decorative, and why throw anything away? It was the perfect size for sharing. Oh yes, so we would have Coca-Cola, sometimes in Coca-Cola little glasses, but she just wouldn't throw anything away. So you might see the women drinking from sherry glasses, but you may also drink from a jam jar, which was very nice. And yet, too, they weren't rigid around us. She couldn't have been rigid if she was telling you to go knock on the door to say, I'd really like to see you or something. But I was 17. I had been attending these sherry hours every Wednesday, and as long as I could remember. It was even decided at age 8, all the women in the city decided I would one day have Mary Virginia Harrison's bed, which I do. It's a hand-carved southern mahogany, hand-carved tobacco leaf, 4-poster. Beautiful. But where I was always positioned, I could see through to Mary Virginia's bedroom, and I just loved that bed. And at 17, Regina said, Dory, it's time that Mary Lawrence have sherry. She's not having Coke. She's having more tea. She's having sherry today because she adds more to the conversation than you do. And that time, it was not 18, it was 21 was the age limit for drinking. Yet she, just bypass that. You're mature enough, you add enough to the conversation, you're one of us. And it was wonderful. Time for sherry. Yep.